Are you writing a series? If so, you might be making a mistake. Hello, my name is Dan, or JK. I've been an indie publisher since 2011, and I've got a number of novels under my belt, a bunch of short stories, some audiobooks, etc., etc. And what I try to do on my channel is give you data-driven information, stuff that I think you'll find useful when you try to make a choice in your indie author career or your traditional publishing career. My information is probably useful to both groups of people. Today, I want to talk about book series, and specifically why you should not write a book series. Now, this may go against the grain here. For years now, all we've been told is if you want to make money in self-publishing, write a series. The longer the better. I think, especially for a new writer, that is very poor advice. And I'm going to tell you why. First of all, from the viewpoint of a new author, let's say that you are planning on writing a 4-book series. So you work away, you write your first book, and you put it up there on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all the regulars, and you get a few sales. Let's say it's a really good book and you're extremely lucky. You manage to get 1,000 sales. Now, 1,000 sales, you're thinking, well, I've heard people get way more sales than that. Well, I hate to temper your expectations, but most books sell less than 100 copies. You hear all kinds of numbers all over the internet, and you can bet that most books do not sell more than 100 copies, especially self-published books. If most books, just by the nature of the beast, most books lose money. And if this is your first time hearing this, poke around a bit. You'll find out a lot of people say the same thing as me. But let's go back to my hypothetical situation. Let's say that you're lucky and you manage to sell 1,000 copies of your book. Fantastic. That's great. So you get that 1,000 copies sold, and now you go on and you're writing book 2, and you're keen because as soon as you get this book out, you're going to get even more sales. People are going to flock to your series. And the truth is, that's not going to happen. Once you've committed yourself to a series, you have committed yourself to lessening the number of people that are potential readers. And let me pull up one of my famous spreadsheets. Maybe not so famous, but a spreadsheet nevertheless, just so I can illustrate this a little better. So let's see, here we are. Okay, here, let's talk about the read-through for a 4-book series. Let's say in book number 1, the total units sold is 1,000. And like I said, that's fantastic. Not only did you sell 1,000, but let's assume that those 1,000 people actually read those books. Because let's be honest here, how many books are on your bookshelf right now that you have bought but never read? I know I got more than a couple. So my example here is 1,000 people have bought your book and read your book. Yeah, that's book number 1. Now, the potential market for that book is millions. Yeah, that's maybe a bit of an exaggeration. Millions. Well, let's keep it, let's say 100,000. It depends on the genre you write. If you write romance, then yeah, it's millions of potential readers. If you write historical fiction, like me, then it's hundreds of thousands. Whatever, it's a lot. Now, after that book 1, you release book 2. What's the potential market for that book 2? It's no longer 100,000 people or 1 million people. It is the pool of people that have read book 1. So if you have sold 1,000 copies and those people have read your book, Let's assume that, say, 600 of them go on to buy book 2. And that also is a very generous assumption. That's a 60% read through from book 1. Now, of those people, for the next book, you go on to write book 3. Let's say that 300 people go on and pick up book 3, and they read it, and they go on to buy book 4. So for book 3, you've got a 30% read through from book 1. 300 people out of 1,000 people that read the first book go on to read book 3. And for book 4, 150 people out of the 1,000 have read that book. So you have a 15% read through on your book 4. So that means that by the time you get to book 4, you only have a potential market of 30 readers. And that's not going to get you anywhere fast. So why do people keep saying, you've got to write a series, you've got to write a series? Now, the reason is because once you have a series, the marketing opportunities are more. You can spend less money advertising book 1 and make that advertising cost back with all the books in your series. However, this is only if it's a good series, a series that people have been interested in and people have read. So you don't know this until the series is long over and completed. So it's best to think about that when you're writing the series. Before you commit yourself to a long series, especially if you're a new writer, there are other things to think about and to worry about. Like, for example, are you capable of writing a good book? Talking from experience here, your first book is not going to be your best book. Your first book is going to be, well, as you would expect, it'll be your worst book. It's like a carpenter building a chair. The first chair he builds is going to be full of mistakes, and the wood will be different sizes. The legs might be different lengths. The screws might be in the wrong places. And you compare that to the 10th chair he's built. The 10th chair is the one I want to sit on. So let's look at this from a new writer's perspective. If you're a new writer, you're better off, taking a little bit of time, writing a few short stories even. But I would suggest get a novel, get a full novel out there, and just make it a one-off, a standalone novel. Put it out there, because if you just write a series, people are going to forever remember that first book in that series, and you don't want to be remembered for your first book. You want to be remembered for your maybe third book, fourth book, fifth book. How many books did Brandon Sanderson write before he actually wrote something good according to the market? I think it was 7 before he got published, something like that. Anyways, there's all kinds of cases like that. So that's one reason to not write a series is to begin with, especially if you're a new writer, it's not going to be your best work. And you owe readers your best work. So that's one reason. But like I said before, I want to give you numbers to work on. So if only I had a series of books that I could compare and contrast and I actually had the numbers for. Oh, wait a minute. I think I do. So here's another spreadsheet to look at. Let's look at the actual read-through of a 4-book series of mine, the Hospitaller Saga. And this was actually the second series that I had written. And I wrote this series because I had listened to all the Vice and forums and online at the time, the words of wisdom of write in a series and the world will be yours. Now, I'm lucky in that my series actually sold very well. So it was a case where I could capitalize on writing more books in this series. However, even looking at that, I'm going to show you how quickly the rewards drop off. So have a look at this spreadsheet here. This was a 4-book series, and the first book, Acre, I butchered the pronunciation of that in one of my earlier videos. I kept calling it acre just because that's how my writer's mind works. My lips don't always say what my brain is thinking. Anyways, Acre, the first book. So all in all, that book sold over 9,000 copies. And if you estimate, it was also in KU, Kindle Unlimited, for a while. And so if you're not familiar with that, that's where you get paid in page reads. If the book is 300 and some pages long, you get assigned roughly 300 KU page reads, and then you get paid out per page read. So anyways, if I just take my total number of page reads and divide that by the number of assigned pages to that book, I get an approximate number of units sold for that book. So that's how I came up with that 7,351 units sold there. So right there, we got about 16,000 copies sold. Now, when book 2 came out, it sold really well. I have a 66% read-through from book 1, which I'm very happy about. That's fantastic. Anything over 50%, I think, is great for a read-through from book 1 to book 2. So if you can get 50% of people to pick up and read that second book, you're laughing. And like I said, part of that has to take into account people finishing book 1, right? So I have a 68% read-through. So that's fantastic. And so that alone made me think, well, it's worthwhile writing that third book. I wrote the third book, and when all is said and done, I ended up with a 44% read-through. So again, that's pretty good for a third book. So that's 44% of the first book. So that was great. And then as we get to the fourth book in the series, I'm already dropping off. And so I'm at a 16% read through. Now, maybe people just haven't gotten around to it, but I published that fourth book a couple of years ago now. And maybe people will pick it up yet. You never know. There's no time limit on this, but that gives you a good idea of a real world read through rate on a 4-book series. Those numbers are very good. Taken from my own very good spreadsheets, not my crappy ones. So, and look at the first series that I wrote. The first series was actually a duology, a 2-book series. And back in 2011, when I published the first book of that, there wasn't too much talk about duologies. I stumbled into making it a duology because I was writing my first book and it went long. Everything I had read up until then or heard was a first novel anywhere from 80,000 to 100,000 in the particular genre that I was writing in. It was a good length. Too long, too short, you lose people. So I was aiming for around 80,000 words. So where was I? Oh, so the first book was 80,000 words, but that's because I took a long book and I basically cut it in half. When I got to about 130,000 words, I realized there's no way I can publish this long of a book. So I revamped things, rewrote it, and made it so that I could publish it as a 2-book series, a duology. And the first part being Altdorf, and the second part being Morgarten. So let me put this up in front of you here. Let's see what we got. I called that Forest Knights duology, and you'll see my earnings there for Altdorf and Morgarten, and the earnings for Altdorf is quite low, but that's also because what I ended up doing later on is I used free as a promotion for that. And so I made the first book free, and then used that to entice people to buy the second book. So that's why the earnings are a little bit crazy there. I have 16,000 in earnings on the book 1 and 71,000 on book 2. So that, by the way, now on my 4-book series, I'm also utilizing that free strategy on book 1. But when I compiled the data I showed you here for the 4-book series, that was before I actually started advertising book 1 for free. That Aqua currently you can get for free, and I'm hoping that it entices people to buy the later books. When I compiled the spreadsheet, it was not free. It was full price. It might have been $1 or something cheaper than the other books in the series. But still, it was a for sale book. Now, if we look at the earnings of my duology and we compare that to the earnings of the 4-book series, something interesting transpires here. I got almost the same earnings. So I got 99,000, 100,000. So they're very close. However, the duology, I only wrote 2 books. 4-book series, I worked twice as hard and had to produce twice as much work for the same amount of reward. Now, the 2-book series has been on sale for longer, but the way my sales are right now, the 4-book series is selling much better than the first book series. Now, I'm not saying that you can't write a series. I'm just saying that statistically, the odds are against you actually being successful with a series. So if you have a lot of time and you have a series that's really close to your heart, something that you want to work on, by all means, do it. I mean, that's it. That's great. And if you're happy writing that series, do it. In fact, that's my Medicine Man Files in a nutshell. I've written 1 book. I've got the second one coming out next year, but this is a series that's really close to my heart and has a lot of pieces of me when I was growing up in a small town, and that's a series that I'm going to keep continuing, even though it sells like dog food. But I'm going to keep writing that series because I enjoy it. It's fun for me, and I have a couple of other ideas about promoting it. So keep my fingers crossed. So anyways, I just wanted to give you some more data and give you my 2 bits on really all I wanted to say was think carefully before you commit yourself to a series. Always have exit strategies, have ways to get out of that series when you get tired of writing it, or ways that you can just leave it without leaving the readers hanging, because I don't think it's a good idea to write a first book in a series like a George R.R. Martin type of thing, where he didn't just write a first book, he wrote millions of words and then didn't finish the series. But I don't suggest that. I think you should write a standalone book with series potential. Really, that sums up this whole video. That's my view on it. If you can just pump out a bunch of standalone books with series potential and then choose from amongst those, that's probably the best. But we writers will commit ourselves to projects that don't make sense sometimes, and that is who we are. So there we go. Do as I say, not as I do, that kind of thing. And with that, I think I'll just leave this topic alone for now. I got some more stats coming up here, and something that I'm working on for other videos. But if there's something special you'd like me to talk about, just leave it in the comments below. And until then, keep writing. Talk to you soon. Time to go to work.